Of course, when you get in law school, you'll have people that are like, my granddad was this, and my dad was this, and my mom is currently a federal judge. But they said, like, just keep in mind that, like, yeah, all that's true, but they have to read just like you do. So don't let them, like, psych you out. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a video that I did not mention I was going to be doing, but I did actually just finish the DAPP Pre-Law Bootcamp. I think DAPP stands for Diverse Attorney Pipeline Program. And so I wanted to just do like a recap of everything that I learned. Of course, I'm not going to like tell you guys everything I learned because that would defeat the point of them having their own program. I definitely would say though, if you guys were thinking about signing up next year, or if they do another one like for the spring or whatever, I would definitely sign up. I would definitely think about it. It was $100, but it was $100 well worth it. It was a 2-day program. So definitely I thought it was worth it. But yeah, I'll go ahead and tell you guys the things that I learned, like some highlights or whatever. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll go ahead and share what I learned. So I'm going to try to do this in order like of the way the days went. So I have the calendar here. So the very first thing that we had was a panel on success in law school and time management. So on that panel, there were, I would say 4 different people from different types of schools, different like, you know, rankings of schools. We had like UIC, John Marshall, Northwestern, Berkeley, DePaul. So like different rankings or whatever. Pretty much what they talked about was just like how to do case briefs, how to outline, and not even like how to do it per se, just how to make sure you don't do it wrong, how to make sure that you're staying on track, how to manage your time, how to come up with different schedules and stuff. So like some highlights that I wrote down, which if you guys can see, don't judge my handwriting. My handwriting is horrible. But like I have like, I don't know, like 15 pages of notes or whatever. So definitely like a lot of knowledge was gained. But so like some things that I wrote down, and I'm going to look down so I can like read it off. But some things that I wrote down were that you should definitely read your case briefs before class. If you can, read the night before, not the morning before, because you won't be cramming in information and you'll have time to read it again. Something else that I wrote down was try to find a study partner that learns differently than you. Also, another thing that Yoshi mentioned, I don't know if you guys watched the video. I did 2 interviews with Yoshi. I'll try to link them, or at least I'll link them down in the description. But he was one of the panelists. And something that he said that he did before he started school was that he took the VARK learning quiz, VARK. And pretty much that quiz just helped him like figure out how he learned better, how he learned, you know, the most efficiently. So definitely I will link that down below too if you guys are interested in taking that quiz. Something else that they said was that make sure that you go to tutoring and study sessions led by 2 L's or 3 L's. They said that's actually better than having a study group. They said if you are going to have a study group, the best may be to have a study group just to go over practice tests. Like 5 of us take a practice test and then we get together to like review the practice test. Most people on like all of the panels said they don't actually like study groups. They said that like they could be distracting. They said that people can give you the wrong information. They just weren't like too fond of study groups. I think maybe like 2 people were, but it was like 20 people. So yeah, they said the best thing to do is go to like a tutor or like a TA for like, that's a 2L or a 3L. Another thing that they said was that if you decide what you want to do in law school early on, you'll be able to tailor your activities for it. So pretty much like early on, like your first semester. By your first semester, if you figure you know what you want to do, make sure to start tailoring your activities, your extracurriculars around that, because then it'll make your path like more clear to the people that you're interviewing with, pretty much, is what I got from it. Another like tip that I don't know, I did this in undergrad, but maybe if you guys didn't think about it, another tip was that to make sure that if like a professor is putting someone else on the spot, they're like cold calling them, even though you think like, oh, okay, they didn't ask me, still answer the question in your head to see that, you know, if you were right or you were wrong. So that's something else to think about doing. I thought about that because I did that in undergrad. Like I'm that person that was like, what if they call on me next? So I always did that. But if you don't, try doing that, because definitely they say that will help as well. I don't want to read like everything, so I'm just reading like the stuff I think is important. So another quote that I have is, if you can make it through the first 2 weeks of law school, you can make it through your entire 1L year. So keep that in mind. Once you get those first 2 weeks done, you should be good to go. Celebrate small victories and wins. I think that's something else to think about. They said that a lot of people like get stressed out, you know, they have anxiety, they have depression, but it's because they only like focus on like the big stuff instead of focusing on like, okay, you studied today for 2 hours, you said you were going to do that. You studied today for 8 hours, you said you were going to do that. Like celebrate your small victories, small wins. Celebrate you getting a question right in class. Celebrate stuff like that. They said that it's not likely that you will get a midterm quiz or an essay. So keep in mind, law school is usually like just that 1 grade for each class. So keep that in mind. Also, they said that some professors will do study sessions with them. I don't know if that's like a because we're doing online classes, or if that's normal. I don't know. If you do know, you're already in law school or graduated, comment down below. But they said that you can set up study group sessions with professors. So I will definitely be trying to do that. And then other things like just for, of course, like since we're all going to be at home, have a dedicated studying space. Somebody even said that what they did was they lit a candle, and like they knew that if that candle was like lit, that smell would make them associate the time with studying. So that's something to do, like find something that makes your brain like associate that time with, okay, I need to focus on law school. So try that. Everything else in here was pretty much just like tips to like make sure that you are like doing other things outside of class to stay on track. So listen to Barbie on your way to work or class. Do your case briefs outline early on in the semester. Do things you like to do in life as well. That's pretty much like the last things I have for that session about like time management and how to be successful. The next session after that we had was preparing for class. So her stuff was kind of like the same too, honestly. Make sure that if you like are reading a case brief before class and you don't know the word, Google the word. Don't be afraid to Google words, because sometimes in class, professors will ask you about those like words on purpose because they know you probably didn't know what it meant. So don't be afraid to Google words. Your case brief should be kept separate from your class notes. Case briefs are not complete until you have added in the professor's notes and what they think is important about the case. Read the case first and then brief the case was another thing. Use Quimby as secondary. Don't use Quimby like just because you didn't read. They said it should only be used secondary. Don't like, make that your everything. Like you need to actually read and study yourself. Let's see what else. That was pretty much like the main stuff from that one. Your case brief should not pick a side. You should be able to speak for both sides in your case brief and explain relevant facts for each argument. Case brief is only for facts, it's not for inferences. Same concept with there. Don't come up with additional hypos. Make sure you're only focusing on what the professor asked. That's pretty much everything for that one. Let's see what else. Okay, and then we started talking about test taking, like things to actually do when you're taking the test. So, of course, I don't know if you guys know this, but like from my understanding and also just from what I gained from this as well, supposedly I'm assuming that when you take a test, your test is really just going to be like a bunch of different hypos. And hypos, from my understanding, is just like scenarios. Like, okay, this happened. I don't know. There was one, this was the second day, but she had like Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. He got hit by something at a horse race or something. Pretty much just like different scenarios. And they'll like tell you, okay, identify all the torts, identify things they may be liable for, identify who has a lawsuit here, like stuff like that for different types of classes. Of course, the question will change, but that's what I gathered that a hypo is. So pretty much, she just went into like a lot of different things about like how to write out your facts, how to write out your procedural history. She went into the IRAC method. If you guys don't know about that, look that up. I'm not going to break all of that down. But yeah, she just talked about the IRAC method. She talked about, she said that she does not suggest writing your own exam to prepare for tests. She said she just definitely suggests preparing by doing a lot of practice exams, but don't try to write your own exam. She said that won't help. She says that doing like Q&As with your friends, like a study group or whatever, it could be helpful. Give yourselves about 4 hours to outline to make sure you're doing everything right. And then she says that she definitely says you should type your outline, not write your outline. Of course, I've heard different things, so whatever you prefer, but she says type your outlines. And then she talks about IRAC some more. And then some teachers also have like CRAC, where you do your conclusion first. There was another professor on there that mentioned that. So you can do that as well. I know this video may be like, not boring, but I'm just talking, but it's because I'm really reading. I couldn't like take notes on my notes. So yeah, let's see what else. Statutes and cases, y'all know what I'm saying. And case law needs to be reviewed when looking at cases. Familiarize yourself with different areas of the law before you actually begin school. So I guess like that's for like know what torts are, know what criminal law is, know what property is, know what civil procedure is, know what constitutional law, like just have like general ideas in your head pretty much. Read the syllabus as well. Get to know your librarian was another thing. I don't know. I know for UCLA, I don't even think our library is open. So I don't know how I will get to know my librarian. I guess maybe Zoom. I don't know. So yeah, get to know your librarian. They said that will help you. Somebody even said that their librarian wrote them references. So something else to keep in mind. And then we start getting into the more like motivational like stuff or whatever. So don't let anyone make you feel like law school isn't hard for them. They do the same reading as you. This is like a separate session. I think this was when we got into the because we did a session on legal writing as well, and some of the IRAC stuff, CRAC stuff was in the legal writing session. But this session was when we got into the what I wish I would have known. And so some stuff they said was like, of course, when you get in law school, you'll have people that are like, my granddad was this, and my dad was this, and my mom is currently a federal judge. But they said, like, just keep in mind that, like, yeah, all that's true, but they have to read you just like you do. So don't let them, like, psych you out, pretty much, and make you scared. Something else was read as much as you can and don't focus on buying study guides. And then they listed like a whole bunch of different websites where you can get books from for cheaper. So I will definitely link all of those down below for us, because I need to look up my books too whenever I get my schedule. FYI, I have not even got my schedule yet. I have not got my syllabus yet. And today is August 4th. And yeah, so I haven't got anything yet. I'll let you guys know all that, of course, when I do. Let's see what else. Then we had another professor come on, and he was like, Professor Morales. He was like a really good professor. He did like a real class, like pretty much like calling on people, cold calling, you know, via Zoom or whatever, cold calling people. And then like he would say, okay, yeah, you know, I'm being nice about this, but this is what the mean professor would do. So that was like a really good informational, just to feel like I'm really in class and I really could be called on, because I really didn't know. It was like 100 or something of us, and she just like picked random people to call on, like the moderator. So yeah, that was interesting. Some people did good, some people did not. So but definitely, I guess a note would be like, be prepared in class, even if you are on Zoom. Another note that I did mention, like make sure that you always have your camera on in class. Like even though I think on some, I don't know, I guess like some professors won't require you to have your camera on, but they said that having your camera on will make sure that you're always focused, no matter what your room looks like, no matter what your house looks like, have your camera on. So another note. I'm trying to think of like what else is really important. And then we went into like, I don't know if the class was like civil procedure or constitutional law. I honestly can't remember, which is horrible, but it was like 2 full days. Like it was 2 full 8 to 9 hour days. And yeah. I kind of zoned out in some parts. But so we talked about like federal laws. Oh, we talked about the difference between federal laws, local laws, and state laws. Something else you guys may want to just be aware of. And then I think now we're at the second day. Yeah. So for the second day, I want to tell you guys exactly what this is about. So it was a civil procedure class. So we also talked about self-care and fighting imposter syndrome. Then we also talked about different things for interviewing or whatever. So self-care and fighting imposter syndrome, same thing I was saying earlier. I remember this. Just keep in mind, like everyone that is there, it is their first day in law school, unless they like, you know, dropped out and came back. But more than likely, everyone that is there, it is their first day. It is their first time being exposed to these things as well. So you're there to do your best. You can only do what you can, read what you can, study what you can, put in the time that you need to put in, and then you did your best. So basically just don't feel like an imposter. But they said that most people will. But keep in mind that everyone there is probably feeling that. So, yeah. And then we did do a panel about interviewing as well. So, some tips that she gave. She was like really funny. I liked her. So she was like, if you're like, I don't know if we'll ever be interviewing in person again, but I guess this can apply on Zoom. Don't overstay your welcome. If you're like going to like a job fair or something, ask your questions, speak, be friendly, be cordial, and then say, okay, thank you, leave. She said something else that she said was, don't ask what they're looking for in the top firms, because if you ask everybody that, the question is the same. You know what they're looking for. She said instead, tell them what you can do for them. That's a better way to word that. She said definitely reach out after you meet with people at these job fairs, after these interviews. Send follow-up notes to a max of 3 people. Research beforehand, obviously. If you are interviewing for a big law job just because you want the money for the summer, try to tone down your public interest on your resume, wherever it's at, like even in your interview. Don't only talk about like pro bono. Try to tone that down if you're just trying to get the money for the summer. She mentioned that. Oh, and then another thing, kind of sad for us, for me, for anybody else that started school this year. She said that a lot of the firms right now are so behind because of COVID that they are like, so typically we will be interviewing, you know, this fall or whatever, like after we get our grades back, we will be interviewing in the spring for the summer 1L positions. Well, she says that because they're so behind, they're still interviewing 2Ls and they may not even be focused on 1L. So I thought that was very unfortunate, but of course that depends on the firms, how many people they find or whatever. But she says that most firms are going to be focused on interviewing 2Ls this spring, not a lot of 1Ls. So something else to be aware of. Of course, no typos. Make sure you have your firm names correct. Make sure that you talk about how you can make a positive impact or impression and ask thoughtful questions. So that was pretty much everything for the interviewing. And then we had another session on taking tests or whatever. So she talked about rules and facts, how your rules and your facts should always come together to reach a conclusion in your test. She talked about how you should be very specific in talking about, okay, these are the facts that were in the text. These are the facts that the professor gave me. Don't be too wordy. A great answer should allow you to learn what something is without even knowing the question. So for example, like if you give your mom, your dad, your cousin, whoever, somebody that doesn't know anything about what you were tested on, like another professor, they should be able to read your answer and know exactly what your question was. Like, you know, not word for word, but they should be able to have an idea. Well, this person must have went through this based on the answer I'm reading. So basically your answer should be that good that they don't even need to read the question. Something else that she said was that keep in mind that whenever you use like different words, so she says like sometimes people will get their classes confused, and she says people will say like guilty, but guilty is a criminal word and then liable is a civil word. So she says to make sure that you're not using the word guilty in civil cases and you're not using the word liable in criminal cases. She said that was like a small tip, I guess. And then she said that most exams are called issue spotter exams. And then she said pretty much with those exams, you need to focus on what, how, and why. And then I want to say that was pretty much it. Like in general, in terms of like what I took notes on, we also had a session that was like 45 tips in 45 minutes with like, I don't even know, 10 to 12 different women. Of course, all of this was like for women of color, people of color, mostly women. I'm pretty sure it was all women. And then we had like final questions. Then we had like closing remarks. So pretty much like the gist of this whole program though, just to kind of like sum this up since I was just like reading off of paper. Pretty much like this program to me, it was really helpful. It was a really good boot camp. Like I said, it was 2 days, like 8 to 9 hours a day. We had like small lunches, but it was helpful because I felt like I was talking to people that genuinely cared about me being successful. Like I was able to ask questions like one-on-one. I was able to like hear people's real thoughts, like people talking about real issues that affect people of color in law school. Not only just people of color, but like specifically women of color in law school. And then even more than that, there were people that talked about Black women of color. They talked about hair. We talked about clothing. We talked about, you know, feeling left out because you didn't come from the same backgrounds. Like it was just a really insightful, in-depth, honest, transparent, very frank conversation. Like even for like Hispanics, like it was a lot of different people that talked about a lot of different incidents, a lot of different issues. And then overall, like I just feel like I'm more prepared for like classes in terms of taking tests. I feel like I'm more prepared to like outline stuff. I feel like I'm more prepared to do memos, case briefs. I feel like I'm more prepared to even like study properly, to know how to do practice tests. I feel like I'm more prepared to know what to read, what to focus on, know how to write out the answers for the test. And I feel like in general, like I'm aware more of what not to do, and I have like a better mindset going into classes now. But I've been doing like a lot of different stuff. So if you're interested, leave me some questions, comments down below, DM me. I will tell you guys like what else I've been listening to in terms of like podcasts and everything. But this was definitely beneficial. I would definitely like look into them if I were you. They do a scholars program. They do like a big job fair, I want to say. I'm not sure what it's called. Maybe DAPP Direct, I want to say. But yeah, definitely beneficial. I want to just give you guys like some general tips that I received, some highlights, top things that I learned or whatever. So yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye y'all.